Something unprecedented just happened inside the Social Security system, and it's catching everyone off guard. While most Americans were focused on daily life, a quiet but powerful shift took place in Washington that experts are now calling the most significant Social Security development in decades. The trigger appears to be connected directly to a signature from President Trump, and what's unfolding right now could dramatically change how millions of seniors receive their benefits this December and beyond. For the past several weeks, there have been whispers circulating among Senate staffers, late-night comments from senior White House officials, and then confirmation that Trump personally requested a comprehensive review of Social Security mechanisms that haven't been touched in over 40 years. These mechanisms control how your monthly check is calculated, how fast it grows with inflation adjustments, and ultimately what lands in your bank account each month. If even one of these mechanisms gets rewritten under this new directive, the impact won't be incremental. It will reshape the entire benefit structure for current and future recipients. What makes this situation so unusual is how quietly it's been moving forward. There were no breaking news alerts, no prime time announcements, no lengthy congressional debates broadcast on television. Instead, this appears to have advanced through internal pressure, private meetings, and policy drafts that were pushed forward at an accelerated pace. The usual process of slow public discussion and lengthy committee hearings simply didn't happen this time, which is why insiders are calling this a complete flip in how Social Security policy changes are being handled at the highest levels of government. So what exactly is being proposed, and why is this happening right now in December? According to sources familiar with the discussions, the focus centers on three critical areas. First, a potential restructuring of how Social Security prioritizes payments across different recipient categories. Second, modifications to how cost of living adjustments are calculated to better reflect actual expenses that seniors face. Third, implementing a new benefit model that treats certain income groups differently than the current system does. If this comprehensive model moves forward as drafted, it would represent the most fundamental structural change since the landmark 1983 Social Security Reform Act that stabilized the program for generations. The difference between then and now is striking. Back in 1983, it took months of public hearings, intense congressional debate, and widespread media coverage before any changes were signed into law. This time, the speed and relative secrecy of the process has caught policy experts and advocacy groups completely unprepared. Some are concerned about the lack of transparency, while others are cautiously optimistic that swift action might finally address problems that have been building for years as inflation has eroded the purchasing power of fixed-income beneficiaries. What does this mean for December payments specifically? According to preliminary reports from multiple state Social Security offices and administrative sources, recipients could see adjustments appearing as soon as mid-December, with some early deposits already being processed under revised calculations. This timing is significant because December traditionally brings the annual cost of living adjustment announcements, but what's happening now appears to go beyond the standard COLA increase that recipients were already expecting for next year. The mechanics of how this will work are still being finalized, but early indications suggest that certain categories of recipients, particularly those who have been on Social Security for extended periods and those in higher cost of living areas, may see supplemental amounts added to their regular monthly payments. These aren't loans or one-time bonuses that need to be repaid. These appear to be adjustments to the base benefit calculation itself, which means they would continue month after month going forward, not just as a temporary December boost. There's also discussion about expedited processing for recipients who fall into specific hardship categories, including seniors over 75, disabled individuals with high medical expenses, and those living in states where housing costs have dramatically outpaced wage growth. The Trump directive apparently included language about prioritizing relief for Americans who have paid into the system their entire working lives and are now struggling to maintain basic living standards on fixed incomes that haven't kept pace with real-world inflation. Critics of the current Social Security formula have long argued that the cost of living adjustment calculation is fundamentally flawed because it's based on spending patterns of urban wage earners rather than retirees. Seniors typically spend a much larger portion of their income on healthcare and housing, both of which have increased at rates far exceeding general inflation. If the Trump directive addresses this core issue by changing how COLA is calculated going forward, it could mean substantially larger annual increases than recipients have seen in recent years when adjustments were often below 3% even as grocery prices, utility bills, and prescription drug costs were climbing at double-digit rates. The political implications are also significant. With another election cycle on the horizon, both parties are keenly aware that seniors represent one of the most reliable voting blocs in American politics. Any administration that can credibly claim to have strengthened Social Security and delivered larger checks to beneficiaries gains a substantial advantage. However, there are legitimate questions about long-term funding and whether accelerated benefit increases might push the Social Security Trust Fund toward insolvency sooner than currently projected. The Social Security Trustees report has warned for years that without reforms, the trust fund reserves could be depleted within the next decade, at which point incoming payroll taxes would only cover about 80% of promised benefits. Supporters of the Trump directive argue that seniors shouldn't be forced to bear the burden of fixing Social Security's financial problems when they've already paid into the system throughout their entire careers. They contend that other solutions exist, including raising or eliminating the payroll tax cap that currently exempts high earners from contributing on wages above a certain threshold, adjusting retirement ages for future beneficiaries rather than current retirees, or finding efficiencies in program administration that could save billions without cutting benefits. What should you do right now if you're receiving Social Security? First, monitor your bank account closely in mid-December for any unexpected deposits or adjustments to your regular payment amount. Second, watch for official correspondence from the Social Security Administration explaining any changes to your benefit calculation. Third, keep documentation of all payments received in case there are questions or discrepancies that need to be resolved. And fourth, be cautious about scams. Whenever there's news about Social Security changes, fraudsters come out in force with phone calls and emails claiming you need to verify information or pay fees to receive enhanced benefits. The Social Security Administration will never call demanding immediate payment or personal information. The next few weeks will be critical as more details emerge about exactly how these changes will be implemented and who will be affected. One thing is certain: December 2024 is shaping up to be a pivotal month for Social Security recipients, and the Trump signature that set this process in motion may end up being remembered as a turning point in how America supports its seniors and disabled citizens. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and make sure you're getting every dollar you're entitled to receive under whatever new formula ultimately takes effect.